Welcome everybody to another edition of AEW Dynamite Breakdown. I am the Lazarus Man, Evil Laz 905. And before we get into tonight's episode of Dynamite, we're going to talk about Full Gear. I'm just going to go down the results. There's really two matches that I want to talk about more than the others, just my feelings on them. But let's start. First match that we're going to talk, Santana and Ortiz versus the Young Bucks. And this was won by Proud and Powerful. It was a very good match, highly frenetic. And we saw a little more of those two tonight on Dynamite, those two teams tonight on Dynamite, and we'll talk about that as well. We saw Hangman Adam Page versus Pac, and Hangman Adam Page gave Pac his first defeat. And those two went at it again tonight on Dynamite, on Dynamite, and we'll talk about that as well. Good match there, very good match, I thought. Moving on, Joey Janela versus Shawn Spears. They had a little bit of a setup here, and they continued their feud. They continued to heat up their feud tonight on Dynamite. Spears won that match with, of course, some classic distracting from Tully Blanchard. It was an okay match. It was kind of a cooler match before the tag team three-way match with SCU, Private Party, and the Lucha Bros. And of course, SCU defended that match like I had predicted that they would. Very good match. I had a good time watching that one. We had Riho versus Emi Sakura. And Riho defeated her teacher. Again, another prediction that came true that I had made. It was a pretty solid match. You could tell that they've wrestled before. It was really interesting seeing some of the footage of Riho when she was very young. And Emi Sakura, who had trained her, sort of meeting. That was pretty awesome. And then we had the championship match, which let's really talk about that. Excellent match. A lot of drama. Cody, once again, whenever he does anything so far in AEW, he really puts passion and emotion into it, and he's won me over as maybe one of my favorite wrestlers. I think my top two favorite wrestlers in the company right now are Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega. Now, surprise at the end, MJF threw in the towel for Cody Rhodes and then gave him a low blow kick. And, he made his full heel turn, which of course we all expected. This whole best friends angle in wrestling always ends. And we didn't expect that to continue or go on for any, amount of time. So that's what happened with that match. Jericho retained his title, and he gets to move on to, I guess, other greener pastures. But I have a feeling MJF wants to insert himself into that title picture. Of course, MJF is going to be trying to insert himself into anything Cody does. So I think we're going to see those two go at it. And it's really time for MJF to shine, as he even calls himself the youngest, fastest rising star in AEW. But of course, the final match was the incredible lights out match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. And it was one of the most brutal, most gruesome matches I've seen in a pay-per-view in a very long time. The glass shards, I don't know what you would call it, the mousetrap board that they had out there. That was pretty interesting. The barbed wire netting, just a truly fascinating, gory, gruesome match. Sometimes I had to look away. It was rough. It was rough to watch. I was checking out Twitter as the match was going on, and Renee Young, who is married to Moxley, of course, Renee Young, announcer over at WWE, she had some pretty funny tweets. Oh, well, by funny, I mean, like, I think she was horrified as much as many other people were. But this is a brutal match, and Moxley won. And it kind of feels like Moxley should have won. That's kind of the narrative. Omega hasn't really been winning all the time. He still, though, is putting on the best bouts, as he is called the best bout machine. It was fantastic. It was definitely one of the best matches I have seen in a long time. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to talk about tonight's episode of Dynamite. It definitely looked like an episode that followed up a pay-per-view. There wasn't a lot of really intense fights. There's a couple squash matches. First match of the night was Moxley versus Michael Nakazawa. I think Nakazawa is great. I would love to see him have more airtime, but he took him out pretty easy. Good Mox promo. They were really cheering for him, and he basically called out the entire locker room. And at the time, I thought, well, who's going to step up? Hager, Jericho, Hangman Page. But of course, we get the answer a few matches later. The next match of the night was the Dark Order versus the Jurassic Express. It was good, fast-paced to start. Jurassic Express had the early advantage. Good tag team efforts from JE. Really nice senton from Uno, but it was kind of a boring effort from the Dark Order. I'm not a fan of the Dark Order. And again, I say this every week. I'm a fan of dark things. I like the Undertaker. I loved the Undertaker and the Ministry of Darkness, for example. I love gothic type stuff. I love horror. I love that sort of thing. And these guys don't sell it to me. I don't feel it from them. But they did do something interesting. They did get the win over the Jurassic Express. A few other things before I talk about what happened after. We need to see more Jungle Boy on TNT. He's really explosive. He's super... there's just like an element about him. JR keeps saying that too, and I believe it. There was a botched move. Marco Stunt. He kind of botched a move off the ropes, but I think he made up for it. He got back up, finished up the maneuver. No one in the crowd... sometimes when you botch a move, the crowd will taunt you. Nobody taunted him. And it's fine. The announcers really played it off as well. Anyhow, the Dark Order landed their finisher, the Fatality, which is actually a pretty cool tag team finisher. I do like it, but I still don't like the Dark Order. I think they're very boring. I wish Jurassic Express had won this match. But afterwards, and this is sort of finally the Dark Order is being quote unquote dark. They made an offer to Marco Stunt to make him one of their creepers. And of course, Jungle Boy jumps in, throws the creeper mask on the ground, and then Evil Uno gives the order for a beatdown. And then the return of Luchasaurus, just who we've been waiting for. And he comes in, he clears the ring, and as they said, the family's back together. So that was really awesome. That was excellent. Next match, Shawn Spears versus Peter Avalon versus Darby Allin. Shawn Spears, chairman of AEW. Peter Avalon, this guy cracks me up. First of all, his hairstyle, it just makes me laugh. I don't know why this sort of like shaved on the sides with the ponytail. It's kind of goofy on someone who's called the Librarian, but he is a good heel. He's really good at, but he's kind of like a one-trick pony. He just kind of talks trash about like sports teams or, something local, the music or whatever. But I think he's got something to him. I think there's something with Peter Avalon that could really shine as far as being a speaker or a talker. Or I believe he's got that talent there. And so I want to see that develop. But, of course, the star of this match was Darby Allin. The crowd was totally behind Allin, more so than almost any other person besides Cody in that evening. Allin, of course, wrestling at a furious pace. Janela, who I guess had unfinished business with Shawn Spears, comes out and takes him out of the match. So it's basically Allin and Avalon, and it's an easy win for Allin, for Darby Allin. And this is the best part. I mean, this really hyped me up. Darby Allin accepted Jon Moxley's challenge. He said, I accept. And so next week, we're going to see Mox versus Allin, and I'm super stoked for this one. So it's going to be really good. Then we had Nyla Rose versus Danny Jordan. This is another squash match. just to display the power of Nyla Rose, give her an easy win, ranking her up in the win-loss columns. We had a quick Allie interview, which was interrupted by Awesome Kong and Brandy. Brandy looked amazing. I like the outfit she had on. Awesome Kong, who had the hair of B. Priestley from the pre-show from Full Gear, and they gave a beat down. Well, Allie kind of assaulted Kong first, but they punished her for it, and they cut a little piece of her hair off. So Awesome Kong is now collecting the hair of her victims, which is really creepy, serial killer-like, which is great. Awesome Kong is one of the best female wrestlers in the last 20 years, easily. And she's got that menacing, foreboding aura, and of course her clout that's kind of followed her around since at least for a long time. I saw her originally in the old TNA back on Spike TV, and she had a great feud with Gail Kim back then. So that's something very memorable, and I can't wait to see her kind of keep destroying it. I'm really also waiting for hopefully the Nyla Rose Awesome Kong showdown. That should be good at some point whenever they choose to do it. Okay. So the next thing that happens is Jericho comes out and he cuts a promo, but it really doesn't matter anything he says. He's just being typical Jericho. And then MJF comes out, and he draws the most heat out of anyone in AEW. I mean, the crowd hates him because he went up against their boy, Cody Rhodes, and it was betrayal. I mean, we had all this drama at Full Gear, and there's the betrayal of the best friend and the protege. And MJF cuts one of the best promos ever. He paints Cody as a villain. He really tears into Cody during this promo. And afterwards, him and Jericho have a little back and forth about joining the Inner Circle. And really, those two were really good together. I mean, MJF kept pace with Jericho, who's one of the best talkers ever. And so, I mean, this was a very defining moment for MJF. He really put himself on another level. I mean, I already knew he was a good heel. I want to see him develop into the guy in AEW, the bad guy. He's got it. He's got it all. It was awesome. Jericho name dropped Juventud Guerrero during it. There was a little Hoovy chant, which is awesome. But man, what chemistry between those two guys. But here comes Cody. He starts taking on both Chris and MJF. He clears the ring, but then this dude, Wardlow, comes out and he just flattens Cody. And it looks like Wardlow and MJF are in league with one another. I don't think MJF is joining the Inner Circle. I think MJF is going to take his own road, which makes sense. I don't want the Inner Circle to be like the NWO and just absorb every top heel, every top bad guy in the company. That's not what I want. Okay, so the next match. So it was a very good segment, extremely good segment with Chris Jericho, MJF, Cody Rhodes, and this Wardlow fellow. Next segment was Pac versus Page. So I guess this was the rubber match. I think JR had it wrong at the pay-per-view, talking about that was the rubber match. But this was the rubber match. This is the third in the series. And Pac, it was really actually very even paced match. They went back and forth. It was pretty good. You could tell they weren't giving it maximum effort, but it was definitely a solid effort. And they were going back and forth. So no one really held the advantage the entire time. At the end, though, Pac really destroyed Page, started beating him. The ref almost looked like he was going to DQ him. He hit a black arrow. He hit the brutalizer, and that was it. So Pac has won, best 2 out of 3. I don't know if this feud is over. Page didn't get a chance to defend himself at the end, so I think they may go at it again. But you could tell they were, the pay-per-view was just 4 days out, and you could tell they were tired. In fact, anyone who wrestled then, who wrestled tonight, they looked tired. Not tired, but definitely not at 100%, maybe like 75%, 60%, that sort of thing. Okay, so then we get some backstage action between the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful. Great little cameo where they bust into the bathroom and there's Orange Cassidy. So they're just tearing into each other. They go out into the the front part. They're fighting on the ramp. They're beating the hell out of the Young Bucks, Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz. Looks like, it was a good brawl. I like to see. I'm glad things are heating up. Next week, Private Party are going to take on P&P, as I like to call Santana Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, or some, right? So that's going to happen. For some reason, I don't know why, but I guess I missed them. I guess they were out on the staring P&P down, Private Party. So I missed them. It's funny, they're both P&P, right? Proud and Powerful, Private Party. So I can't really use P&P as an acronym. I'm just going to say Santana and Ortiz. It's easier. But it was a good brawl. So finally, we had our main event, SCU versus the Inner Circle, Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Scorpio Sky and Kazarian. Chris Daniels came out announcing his boys, sounding like the Road Dogg with all his bad rhymes. Still good. Very notable moment, though, of course, the first time Kazarian and Jericho have ever been in a ring together and locked up. So that was kind of cool to see. SCU, with their classic good teamwork, brought the victory. There was some good, typical shenanigans from the Inner Circle and Hager. Are we ever going to see Jake Hager wrestle? I know he is an actual MMA fighter, so maybe he can't while he's preparing for a match or something like that with them. I don't know, but it would be nice to see him eventually get in the ring and square off against somebody. I'm sure it's in the works at some point. Good match, and Jericho actually gets his first loss in AEW to Scorpio Sky. So big things are happening for SCU, and Jericho throws a little tantrum. He's throwing chairs around at the end of the night, and that's how it ends. It was an okay episode. If I had to rate it, maybe a solid B, maybe a C+, and really mostly that is because everyone was tired. They just had a pay-per-view. Though I am looking forward to seeing AEW Dark. I want to see Shanna again. She's become my new favorite wrestler in AEW, at least as far as the women go. There's something there. I want to see that develop. I really can't wait for next week to see Moxley versus Darby Allin. Allen's really going to improve and go upwards in the company, and I've become a huge fan. I don't know, where he stands as far as rankings go, and we'll actually talk rankings next week. I wasn't prepared to do that this week, and we'll talk about the rankings, how they give it. Maybe I mean, is it just based on, it's not like college football ratings where some of it is based on, wins, losses, but some of it is maybe based on the strength of your win or the strength of your loss. I'm not sure. So we'll be talking about the rankings next week, whether we agree or disagree. And that's it. You can catch me over on YouTube as The Laz Effect, I believe. I have to actually go over there and look at my thing. Yeah, just The Lazarus Man. I have 1 subscriber, so you could totally be like my second subscriber. I'm going to upload this video in a moment. So if you are listening on YouTube, you know what to do. Hit like and subscribe. That's what they say. If you're listening on Twitch, please follow me. In any case, I am EvilLaz905. You have been listening to AEW Dynamite Breakdown on Twitch live, or maybe on YouTube. Catch me next week, and we will talk more AEW Dynamite. Take it sleazy.